consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalyn Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business. Enjoy this light language activation as we begin to magnetize and monetize.
Hello, my loves. Welcome to this episode. It's episode number 88. And today we were talking about how to put yourself first in doable bite-sized pieces. So this is for you if you are struggling with putting yourself first. Perhaps you know, quote unquote, what to do, but you're not actually taking action to putting yourself first because there's a lot of guilt that comes in the way and a lot of other stuff. So this is for you if you are in a caregiver role, you're a mother, you're in the sandwich generation, and it feels like there's no time for you. Today, we are going to jam about how to actually take aligned action so that you are filling your cup up first. So if you really feel tons of value from this episode, please do shout it out on social media. You can take a screenshot of this or share it on your feeds. It's Rosalyn Fung Coaching Bold Sexy Warrior on Facebook here, and on Instagram it's Bold Sexy Warrior. I want to, before we welcome my special guest, I want to also remind you that this coming weekend, as we're recording this live right now on February 10th, February 12th and 13th, I am hosting my 2-day live immersion for my Flourishing Life Coaching certification. You can DM me at Bold Sexy Warrior or private message me here. You can see my email in the show notes. If you're interested in joining this or getting more information, I'd love to see if this is a fit for you. So let's tune in to our guest here, Miss Lesley Evans, one of my soul sisters. I'll share a little bit about how we met, but let me share a little bit more about Lesley first. So Lesley is an international best-selling author of DeFUNK Yourself, and she has developed a perfect blend of modern and magical therapies to empower the overwhelmed by teaching how to shed the guilt, find your passion, and live an inspired life. Lesley has 30 years of experience as a registered psychiatric nurse and therapist, and she is a certified soul care practitioner and Reiki master. She brings new purpose and passion for raising awareness, gaining new perspectives, and teaching others to shine their light. And she believes, like the phoenix rising, that everyone can rise from the ashes of their old life and build themselves stronger to shine their light into the world. Hi, Lesley.
Hello.
Welcome, love. I'd like to share how we met.
Yes.
Through our Akashic, we're both Akashic record readers, and so we met through Deanne Rondeau. So a shout out to her. She was just like, you and she told me, she's like, you and Lesley need to meet. Like, you guys have a lot in common. Us both coming from clinical backgrounds and then moving into the more spiritual world. And when we got connected on a Zoom call, and it turned out that her daughter was at the time working down the street from where I live here in Kelowna, BC. So it's just like, that's amazing. I literally just met her like 2 days ago when we met.
It is amazing how life just brings us together.
Mm-hmm, totally.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you share with our audience today, how did you get to be who you are today, gorgeous soul, and be doing what you're doing. Like you took this huge journey yourself from moving from nursing into what it is that you do now as a soul coach. So please let us know.
Absolutely. Well, honestly, Rosalyn, my journey starts with a checklist. The checklist of everything that I thought was important in life or everything I wanted in life. You know, I graduated from psychiatric nursing. I married my college sweetheart. I got a job in public health and had 3 beautiful girls, bought a house, all of those things that were part of that checklist. That was so important to have. And what happened as I began to check those things off on my checklist is I lost myself in that process because I was so busy taking care of everybody, everything on that checklist, making sure it was all going the way it was supposed to. But really inside I was dying and I was just sacrificing everything that I was to be there for everyone else. I was also primary support to my mom. You talked about the sandwich generation, primary support to my mom while taking care of kids and husband. And it happened to be one day when I was speaking with my eldest, who you've met, and she was 16 at the time. And she was having trouble with a boy, which of course happens at that age. And I was giving the great motherly advice. She was doing things that she wouldn't normally do to be with this boy. She was skipping out on things that she loved, like dance and singing. She wasn't singing as much, giving up pieces of herself to be there, to be with this boy. And of course, I gave her the great advice that said, you have to be who you are. You have to keep doing those things that are important to you. And if they can't support that, then they're not for you. And what happened though, Rosalyn, is I had a huge light bulb. Oh my goodness, what am I teaching my girls? I have 3 girls. And what am I teaching them by doing the things I'm doing? I don't want them to live a life of self-sacrifice and to lose themselves and not be happy with where they're at and those kinds of, and it was a really big light bulb moment for me. And so I had some really quiet time and, you know, I started to just really get back to who I am, myself inside, spirit, my higher self, and just really reconnected with a place that I'd lost along the way. And so my husband and I of 21 years, we knew that what we were doing to each other wasn't very good, never mind what we were doing to our kids, and we separated and divorced. And that really started this journey of, you know, me reconnecting and really, really understanding how important it is to have that connection spiritually, have that connection with your higher self, energy, God, in whatever way you describe it, for you to be everything you're meant to be, for you to find your passion, to find your why in life. That's where that connection really needs to be. And so I set a path to do that.
And can I share
yes.
how important it is? Like what I love about your stories so far, and I really want the audience to hear this, is that something, we'll say traumatic, meaning impactful, because trauma could be positive or it could be negative. But
Right.
In this case, it was your daughter's trauma in the breakup, and it gave, you saw it as an opportunity to look at yourself, as you used it as a mirror to go, hang on, how is it that I want to leave my legacy here, and especially as a mother for my daughters, how is it that I'm showing up in the way that I want to create that? And I think that's so beautiful. So what I want to highlight to the audience is when things are happening that you don't like, look at that for yourself and how you're how is it that you can use this as a mirror to wake up and expand your soul at a deeper level and really get clear? Is this a life I want to continue living? Is this how I want to continue to be? And I love, Lesley, that you really woke up to that. How beautiful, how powerful, and I'm sure very messy.
Absolutely, very messy. It absolutely, and I think the important piece to add to that before I go on
Yeah.
with how I got here is that we as parents, and I think moms, coming from a mom perspective, because that's what I am, we hold on to this that we think we need to be perfect for our children. And really, all we're doing when we feel that way is teaching our children that they have to be perfect too. And so I don't want my children to learn that. I want them to learn to make mistakes and be who you are. And you are perfection in yourself. You don't have to be somebody else's idea of perfect. And so the other important piece in that is, as you're changing and as you're learning new ways of doing things, you're also teaching your kids that they can change at any time.
Yes,
That is just as important of a lesson to be modeling to our kids, is that we don't always get it right, and that's okay. We can also change and move forward too.
yes.
And have a little grace.
Well, that's so important, right? And I love that point about perfectionism, because a lot of my tribe struggles with that. A lot of my clients struggle with perfectionism, and I'm a recovered perfectionist, so I totally get it. These messages about having to do it just right. You can't get this wrong. And that's so much pressure that we put on ourselves. And I love that you shared, like, let's bring in grace here. Let's bring in self-compassion. Let's be gentle with ourselves, because this is about a journey of loving ourselves, coming home to ourselves. I know for myself, like back in 2008, before my awakening, I had this, many people know I was a bodybuilder, and I got there to this quote unquote perfect body, not by loving myself, but continuing to be critical, and that masculine, no pain, no gain sort of mentality. So when I got my quote unquote perfect fitness model physique, it was like never good enough, because I never began to love myself at all during this journey. So yes, coming back to you, grace is so important.
It's so important. I mean, we are all learning on this journey, and it doesn't matter how far we've come. We always are learning, and we're always finding times where we go, "Ooh, boy, I could have done that better." And oftentimes we go back to old kind of ways of being in times of stress, and to give ourselves a little bit of grace. Actually, a lot of grace when we're doing those things, if you can start with, if you can start with a little bit, but, give yourself some grace along here. Again, as we give a lot of other people grace. And so to give ourselves that same grace is really, really important. And, I think this is it kind of flows into this next part of my journey where, as divorces go, it's not always easy. It's messy. And even when you have, the right, thoughts, and you're wanting to do things right, it doesn't always. And I remember after we left, and I can remember the first day in our new home, the girls came with me, and so did my mom, because she was living with us. And I just remember that first night being able to take a full deep breath, like to the bottom of my lungs. And I didn't even realize I hadn't been breathing fully for a very, very long time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing, this ability to take a deep breath. And as we moved through this tough time, my girls were still in high school or in elementary school. I think I had one in each: high school, middle school, elementary school at that point. And I was making sure they were doing okay. I'm making sure my mom's doing okay, and making sure all my clients are doing okay, all of that. And I really didn't have any time for myself in that time. And I really wasn't ready to allow myself to fall apart. Right. Because everybody's doing okay, all my hats and all that. And I can't tell you, Rosalyn, what happened, but I went home for lunch one day. I was able to drive home at lunch, and something just came at me, overwhelmed me. And I can remember driving back to work and sitting in my vehicle and just taking those deep breaths, because I still had 3.25 hours left to do in my afternoon, and just taking some breaths and, all right, let's go. You can do this. And I went and I did it. And I'm, I'm proud to say that I was very good at my job there. So I did that. But at the end of my shift, I went looking for my keys. Not in my pocket, in my purse, in my drawer where I might usually find them. And I thought, all right, I hope it's still there. I hope my car is still there. And it was an Expedition, so big Alberta vehicle, right? And so I went out to my Expedition, and not only were my keys there, I had left it running. Well, I was in for my 3.25 hours, 3.5 hours by the time I looked for my keys. My Expedition had been running the entire time.
Wow.
And I just remember, Rosalyn, getting into my truck, turning it off.
First of all,
I turned it off, but
it got stolen.
It didn't. Yay. It didn't, but I just remember this, just leaning my head on the steering wheel, if you can picture this, and just looking at my gas tank and thinking, I am as empty as my gas tank is now.
Wow.
And I just, it was in those moments, I took some breaths. I put some gas in my car on the way home because I couldn't get home on empty, and took care of everybody. And that night, I just remember just saying, all right, enough is enough.
Yeah.
It's time. It's time. And that's when I really set upon this journey of not only recentering and reconnecting myself, but finding mentors and teachers and supports that could help me to connect with spirit in the way I wanted. Sorry?
What year was this?
That was 2013.
Wow.
Was when I really, really sat down and said, okay, enough is enough. It's time. Go ahead.
Were you a spiritual woman? Were you connected in, intuitive, and aware of it?
You know what? I had been aware of it, and I had been kind of dabbling a little bit, right? Just kind of looking into things here and there, probably for, I would say, 10 years. In that 10 years, moving from church to into this. No, there's more to this than what I'm seeing here, and that journey. But in 2013 was when I said, no, enough is enough. This isn't enough for me anymore. I really got to learn more. And so learned a lot. Angels, Reiki, I'm Reiki master, Akashic Records, just really centering and connecting in lots of different ways before I came to the Akashic Records, which really resonates with me. And what I discovered was I was intuitive all the way along. I just didn't know it. Right. And I didn't know I was using my intuition. It just came naturally. So it was during that learning that I discovered how to blend the best of both my worlds. Right. Like you said, it's actually been over 30 years since I graduated in 1991, if you can believe it, from psychiatric nursing, and just being able to blend both, the beauty of both of those worlds, and helping people to use some of those tools and those steps that help you move forward, help you to reduce that anxiety or that overwhelm, or move forward when you're feeling stuck, along with the passion and your why and the fulfillment of being spiritually connected. So that was really where that journey began. And it's a learning process, for all of us. Always.
It continues to be.
Absolutely. It always does. And I learn more and more. The more I work with people, I learn just as much from the people I'm working with as I do from my mentors as well. So it's an incredible journey, Rosalyn.
Absolutely. And I want to make it full circle here with regards to what catalyzed you, which was your daughter's breakup. So I'm curious what has transpired from that perspective of mom going on her own journey, awakening to herself, and being connected in more to divine power. How has that impacted your how your daughters see you and your relationship with them? How's it impacted how they start to be, do, and have?
Well, I think for me, I've always been really close to my girls, and I'm blessed to have that relationship, and so it's been interesting for them to see me go through this process of just taking care of everybody, and da 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 da, and then becoming very self-aware, and also taking care of myself where I'm not always looking out, fixing things all the time anymore. And what's happened and what can happen when we're a fixer is they don't actually learn how to do their own things in life, or how to,
be themselves and be creative. Yeah.
Exactly. So in this process, we've of course had some challenges where maybe times I would have stepped in and I wasn't anymore because I knew that wasn't healthy for me or for them. Yeah. And so they've taken that upon themselves to, find that strength to do it for themselves. And so if you think about my eldest, she moved to Kelowna. She did it on her own, and now she's there with her partner, and they've got really great jobs. She's been manifesting this amazing life for herself, and I'm really excited for her to be seeing this. And my middle daughter, who is she's given me a grandson, and he's beautiful. Yeah, I know he'll be a year here on the 17th. And she is just learning along this road to be who she is and to believe in herself, and to be strong in herself and trust herself. And so she has, graduated from post-secondary while she was pregnant and having a baby. She did all that herself and graduated and got herself a job in her field. And that's amazing. And then my youngest, who's been living with me during this journey, she's in grade 12 this year. And it's incredible to see her really figure out who she is and what resonates with her and what spiritually resonates with her, and to be open to knowing that there's all of these different ways to connect with spirit, and it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. You connect in the way you connect, and that's what's important. It doesn't have to be, in fact, it shouldn't be like anyone else. It should be your own personal connection. And so watching her grow in those ways is pretty incredible too. So I've seen a lot of their growth with my growth, and kind of saying, no, you've got this. I don't have to take care of this anymore.
That's so powerful. And again, I want an audience to really hear this, that when you really are in your power, you're also holding open the possibilities for the other to step into their power as well. We actually take that away when we're in rescuer mode, which creates codependency. Right. And I feel like, most relationships in the world are codependent relationships. Of course, everything is on a spectrum from, very extreme codependency to just a little bit. And so, but Dan and I actually talked about that on the last episode that we had, was, that even though most couples think that they're interdependent, which is where we want to move towards, and this goes to any relationship, really, we want to move towards healthy interdependence. most of us end up still being in that spectrum of codependency. So I love what you're sharing here, Lesley, the importance of really owning our power and giving an opportunity for others to step into theirs too, by us not going in to fix it.
Exactly. Because we actually rob them of the things that they're supposed to learn on their journey when we are always just going in there and jumping in there and fixing things. And I have been very fortunate to meet the love of my life along my journey in the last years. And we married, it was just our 3rd anniversary. And I'm learning that again, you know, I was in such a different spot when we met in being able to love myself and being open to love, but open to love that's equal.
Yes.
That it wasn't that either of us needed each other. It was just, we just loved to spend the time together, and we loved how we what we're doing in life and what our values are. And so we're together because we love to be together, not that because I didn't want to be alone. Right. But that work. Yeah. And that work I did in that time from, you know, separation to that time was all about being who I am and what's important to me to be able to be open to that kind of love.
And I just hear the transformation you had to go through, like all the belief shifting you had to go through from putting everyone else first, well, as a mom, and I assume because you were a nurse therapist, like your patients, and it's very common in these roles for us to put ourselves first in the helping role, right? And so I can hear the breakthroughs you've gone through, and the beliefs you had to really shift to say, yes, I deserve love again. Yes, I deserve to put myself again. Like, this is so powerful. All right, my love. So we actually need to just shift into commercial. And when we come back, I'm going to actually ask Lesley about her decision to really move into her business now, as from nursing into soul coaching.
Sounds awesome.
OMTimes TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OMTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OMTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OMTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OMTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OMTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OMTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
Are you feeling maxed out working one-on-one with clients, and you're deeply desiring to scale your business for more time freedom without sacrificing your income, but rather expanding it? Many of my clients who are light workers, healers, practitioners, and even coaches, they're often multi-modality, are coming to me because they are sick and tired of working with clients on a one-off session model where the clients are coming in on an as-need basis. Or if they're selling packages, they are selling them in the sense of buy 5, get 1 free, or the greater the number of sessions, the greater the discount. The problem with this is it's still a dollar for hours business model. And so that leaves the practitioner feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed from having to put so much time, effort, and energy in finding new clients that they're not operating in their most elevated self with their current clients. And so if this is you, I would love to share with you that it's time to elevate your business and scale it to sell high ticket one-on-one programs or even group programs. This will allow you to have more deeper impacts because you're raising your clients' results, you're scaling your business, and you're having that time freedom you deeply are yearning for. If this is resonating with you, love, I'd love to invite you to come on a soul business alignment call with me so that you can stop feeling like you're on this roller coaster ride and start to feel safe and stable and even having fun in your business and your finances. Please go to electrifymybusiness.com to apply and we'll hop on a call. I can't wait to connect.
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back, love. So I was just looking at the comments here, and Erin McCarthy says it's so wonderful to hear of such beautiful mother-daughter relationships. And I absolutely agree. I mean, so many of us have mother wounds, so many of us have sister wounds. So it's so refreshing to hear that you, Lesley, as not only as a human and as a mother, you really, really take that extra care to be coming back into a relationship with yourself to see how you can go into the most healthiest relationship with your daughters. So inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Inspiring. Speaking of inspiring, I'd love for you to share your transition from nurse therapist to soul coach now. Please let us know what inspired that even more. That's the next part.
Well, it's interesting because have you ever had, the universe is giving you little messages and you're not quite taking it and it just finally says, all right, enough. We gotta stop. We gotta give you you need to stop. And so just before COVID hit, so I started to get back into that, spending less time for me, getting my relationship going, making sure my girls were okay, my mom, and everybody was transitioning to this new life for me. And the universe finally just said, oh man, I thought you'd figured this out. And so January of 2020, I actually got vertigo and it stopped me in my tracks. I was not working. I was not helping anyone. In the beginning, it was the whole room was spinning. I couldn't even know. It was, I'm out, I'm down. And I really had to physically stop all those roles I'd taken on. And then COVID hit and that fear and anxiety hit in the world and all of those things just came down. And I can remember it was probably about April or May when we just finally said enough is enough. Let's stop watching the news. Let's stop watching all of this stuff going on. And I sat down. I said, all right, universe, I'm listening. You've stopped me fully. I can't, you have stopped me fully. What do I need to do? And so that's what really led me to this piece here. Is that I really sank into, I started to work. I worked with Deanne over this past year and a half in really figuring out what I wanted to offer the world with all this experience. But there's always been this piece missing when I'm working in public health, because this is a no-no to go delve into the spiritual piece of it, right? It is no woo-woo in public health. And I really feel like it's the missing piece for a lot of people, is the ability to really hone in on your, energy and what's important spiritually, and connection with the universe, and really connection with your why and your passion. And why should I even take these steps you're teaching me to take? Why should I even get better? And that connection, that spiritual connection, really does give you that piece of, okay, now I know why. Now I can.
Yeah, it's recognizing that we're all souls having a human being experience, and that there is something greater beyond this meat suit, if you will.
Exactly.
And so I'd love to dive into, because the episode's all about, bite-sized, doable steps.
Yes.
Clearly for those who are struggling to put themselves first. What I'm hearing and taking away from your story so far, and I want the audience to really hear this, is the first step is self-awareness. What is it? Like, really stop and pause. I don't want you guys getting sick. I know when I was a psychologist, a lot of people came to see me when they were physically sick. They were emotionally sick, depressed, anxious. They had to take leave of absence from work. I don't want that for you guys. And so take this opportunity while you are functioning, and take this opportunity to pause. I think it's really regular that we pause and we reflect. That's a daily practice of mine every single morning. Every Fridays, I have a win journal. And I reflect on what are my wins of this week. What is, and like at the beginning of the month, it's always like reflecting on how was my last month? What is it that I want to create for this month? And really pausing, reflecting, making sure I'm staying aligned, true to myself, and staying in my power. So I'm hearing in your story, first thing is pause and reflect on what is the legacy? What is my why? What is the legacy I want to leave? That would be the first step, because we can't take any aligned action if we're not clear, right?
Exactly. And the awareness comes in we talk small steps. The awareness comes in small steps, in noticing how you're feeling. Are you feeling overwhelmed, or are you feeling dissatisfied or resentful, or all of those things? You start to just become aware. Where are my thoughts?
Yes.
When the mood often comes from your thoughts, so when your mood is you've got that overwhelm or a bit of anxiety or low mood or anger or whatever, resentment is another, guilt is another one. Well, what are those thoughts that are going on in my head that are leading to that? And that is that just starting the awareness in small steps, and just really starting to really look at, okay, so there is something here that's not quite aligned for me if I'm feeling this way all the time. And then you can start to take those steps.
What would that next step be? So how can somebody, because we both know at that point, it's like deep down inside, it's like, shit, I know, and that's why I need to go. But and then all the limiting beliefs come up. So what would you suggest at that point?
So I'm all about small steps, Rosalyn, that when you're feeling overwhelmed, especially, to really put a huge change on your shoulders all at once just makes you feel more overwhelmed. And so it's really important to just really break that down. And I think you said it was taking that time for yourself, to be able to just sit quietly with yourself, to, really connect in that way. But what I find, Rosalyn, is when you're overwhelmed, you feel like I don't even have time to take for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's where we want to aspire to be, is to be able to take that time. But when you've got kids, or you've got, a job that's has you going 100 miles an hour all the time, what I talk about is just really fitting small pockets of what's called mindfulness, which is really, the definition is being in the present moment, non-judgmentally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to tell you, just start putting small pockets in things that you're already doing.
Ooh, can you give us some concrete examples?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. So how many of us walk every day? It's a bit of a trick question. If you can walk, you walk from your bedroom to the kitchen. You walk from the car to an appointment. You walk, we move every day. So it's a bit of a trick question. So often that time is held for our thinking. To take, when you're walking from the bedroom to make your coffee in the morning, you're thinking of the 100 things you got to do in the day. So what I'm going to say is using those transitions steps to slow those thoughts down and really focus on what your body is doing while you're walking, even if it's only for that 5 or 10 seconds. So focusing on your muscles and the miraculous way your body can balance and the sway of your arms, and really, really using those little pockets of time to be mindful, bring the thoughts down and the emotions down. And I can tell you, if you do this throughout the day, you'll be way more effective and productive, actually, too, rather than letting those thoughts go. And here's the thing: your brain it thinks 24/7. That's what its job is to think all the time. And what I think we don't realize is we can train it to think in the way we want.
Right. That's right. Actually, that reminds me of a moment, and that I may take this a little further. And this is where it's because I'm trained in Mathematic Therapy. This is where I would say hire a mentor like Lesley, a coach to hold space for you. But I remember recently, because I have trauma around skiing. And as a little kid, we grew up as a ski family. And my trauma is, oh my God, I would have frostbite often, or I couldn't feel my toes or my fingers within 30 minutes because I get cold so easily. And it was almost like my parents, not their fault, I want to make that really clear, but they were probably like, is Roz being a little dramatic here? And so I would hate skiing. I would hate it. And now moving to Kelowna, where it's much nicer, there's great white here. And so we went to the mountains. I'm like, you know what? Again, it's mom roll thing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stretch myself and I'm going to just get out of my own way, change the story here. I can restory this. And I know it's all stored in my nervous system because that's where trauma is held. Our beliefs are held there. It's through the subconscious in our bodies. And I remember just being mindful, like you're saying, so I'm skiing, I'm waiting in line. And that's normally when I would just really feel the cold as a little girl. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so let's restory this in my body. Let me just keep breathing. Let me keep noticing, like a hyper awareness. And that literally shifted me into going, wow, I could feel a little bit of anxiety. And then because I purposely brought in breath and the mindfulness, it was just shifted into joy. I was like, no, I'm really enjoying this right now because it's not cold. Yeah. But also because I could pay attention to other things because it wasn't cold. What else? What am I enjoying about this moment? And it really was I love that I'm with my kids. I love that we get to ski together. I love that, as a family, we're doing this. And it brought me so much joy in my heart. It shifted everything. And I said, seal this in, lock it in. This is my new energetic foundation.
Lovely.
And we can apply this to anything in our life, anything. Yep. Money beliefs, relationship beliefs, our own relationship with ourselves, right? Self-care beliefs. And we all have the same amount of 24 hours in the day. It's how we choose to move into it. And I love that, Lesley, you're going, yeah, you can move mindlessly from the bedroom to get to the kitchen, make coffee, or you could be mindful about it and really feel into your nervous system to find the calm as you move to the coffee maker and they get caffeinated.
Yeah. I mean, it seems very simple. And when you first do it, it's challenging. If you think about training a puppy, right, Rosalyn, they don't sit the first time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
They don't sit right? They don't sit after 10 times, right?
Yeah.
However, when you consistently work on it, they learn to sit. And
Yeah.
it doesn't help to yell at them or berate them. It helps to give them treats and to tell them what a good puppy they are. So if you kind of put that towards you and your brain, it's having that patience to know you're not going to get it the first time.
Yeah.
And that even after you've trained your brain to think, sometimes it's going to get away on you. And so you can just bring it back again. And so one technique I like to use is when you notice those thoughts, those warning thoughts that say, oh, but what if you're not thinking about this right now? What if it goes wrong? And you say, thank you. Acknowledging that thought is really important. Thank you for that warning. Right now, I choose to focus on what my body is doing. And almost like a conveyor belt, you can let it go through your brain and drop off, and then it might come again. Yeah, but what if? And you say, thank you again. Thank you for that warning. Right now, I choose to focus on what my body is doing. And it may take you, a while to get that, but eventually your brain's going to get to that point where it's like, oh yeah, we're walking. This is the time where I'm supposed to focus on what my body's doing.
Oh,
but
powerful.
Right?
I'd love for you to share a little bit more about how you work with your clients as you're holding space for them. Do you open the Akashic and then it's like you have the downloads and you give them practical action steps? What's it like to work with you, Lesley?
Oh, for sure. So for me, it is when you work individually with me, we do go into your Akashic Records, and really from there, it's interesting for me. I find this also amazing, and I've been doing this a while, and it's amazing every time. Is that I don't know what's going to come up, because the Akashic, it's like I the messages are for whomever I'm working with.
Yes.
And so I never know what's going to come up. I always know, though, that it's important. And so we move into those spaces of whatever comes up in the Akashic. And if the messages that I am getting resonate with that person, then that is exactly where we're supposed to focus. And so it is all about taking those next steps to help you where you want to go in your journey. Yeah. And it's no surprise to me. I believe that everybody kind of has a specialty in the Akashic Records. And it's no surprise to me that, working from a lot of the CBT kind of realm in my therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, that my focus is all on small steps moving forward, mindfulness and how we can move forward. So that's individually, that is exactly where we'll go, is in the Akashic Records, see what magic is held there and what we can do to try and, look at some small steps to move forward.
Beautiful. And most of your clients do really struggle with putting themselves first, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You're often people like me that gave up everything in life, right? Yeah. And just learning to do that in small steps, because at first it's really challenging to make those changes without a lot of guilt.
Can you share an inspirational client story, and when they were working with you and made those small steps, what transpired?
Absolutely.
Sort of thing.
Absolutely. So I have somebody who I've worked with for a long time ago, and we've reconnected. And her name is Denise, and she described herself as an overwhelmed grandmother taking care of her grandchild. Yeah. And she just had some challenges with, taking on too much of other people's stuff. Allowing other people to really impact her mood and what she was doing and make her feel very worthless. And so we did a lot of work in just the steps to move forward, the steps, releasing some of those limiting beliefs. And she went through my 8-week program on just, moving through the power of your presence, and just understanding her own worth and the power that she has in her own presence as she is. And, you know, when I caught up with her just a couple of months ago, she's doing some incredible things. She's canceling some things that she, I know, it's like, you know, it was more important for her to be with her granddaughter. And so she canceled that, and, you know, just doing some boundaries that were really important for her and for her self-worth and for her moving forward, you know, taking care of her granddaughter. And, you know, I just got goosebumps. She's just doing great things and really thinking about what she wants to do next for herself and for her future, where she wants to work and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool.
Well, I really believe when we raise our own results, when we raise ourselves up, and I'm going to say with help, because we aren't meant to do it alone. This is why I love having healers and coaches myself, right? And it's like we can't see the forest from the trees when we're in our own stuff. We don't see our own blind spots. So it's really important, I truly believe, to have someone professionally holding space for us. And so how beautiful the work that you're doing. Now, I know you have a few things coming up in terms of, I mean, this will be housed forever, but what are some of the programs that you're excited about creating?
So what I have right now is I have a 1-day workshop, which is called The Power of Your Presence. And it's just kind of snippets of learning how to be more present, productive, joyful in everyday life. And so I have that. And I do have a February special if you're looking, and it's and then it's $22.22 for that 1 day, $22.22 for the 1 day. And then I do have an 8-week program that really delves in more deeply into mindfulness and, you know, awareness and moving forward, taking small steps to move forward. And I'm just coming up with a little bit of a subscription piece to be able to be part of those programs. So that's coming out in the next 2 weeks, which is so exciting. You know, there's a lot of fear and a lot of worry in the world today, and I wanted my programs to be accessible. And so the subscriptions are much more accessible, I think, for people to join me. So yeah, and
love that. So my loves, if you are resonating with Lesley, you're resonating with her story, you see yourself in her former version of her, and you're like, well, I gotta get in. Okay, you can check out the show notes for Lesley's information. But Lesley, really quickly, how can people get connected with you if they're listening on the podcast?
Sure. Well, you can go to my website, riseofthephoenix.org. And so you can go there. I also am offering a 20-minute free intuitive reading. So we go into your Akashic Records and find out some small steps to take forward. And so you can actually, so that I know that link will be in the show notes, but it's
generous. Take it, you guys.
You know, it's challenging when you don't know someone.
Yes.
At least this way you can get to connect and you can get to feel like, is this somebody who I would like to work with? And for me too, is this someone who I think it's in their best interest for me to work with? And so there's that, right? And so you can also book that on my site as well. It says book a call.
Thank you, my love. So let's move into the next couple minutes here, literally a couple minutes. I want to just close this show as usual with a meditation light language activation. So I'll invite you to just move into the portal of your heart. You can take your breath and follow it in. You can place your hand on your heart, one on your womb space. And just breathing into these places. It's really connecting in with yourself in this moment and tuning into what in this episode stood out the most for you. And trusting that's the message that you needed to hear and receive today as your medicine. Could be a new awareness, new perspective, perhaps a reminder or a confirmation. There's no right or wrong here. So breathing in again to these places of your heart, of your womb space. Expanding your breath. Being really present about expanding your breath and noticing where it goes in your body, your side body, the back of your body, moving into the crown, the top of your head. Keep expanding it. Even when you don't think you got more breath to breathe in even more. And then just slowly release. And then feel into the goodness as you release anything that doesn't serve and support you. Feel into that, how good it feels to be in your breath, the power of your breath, the journey of your breath starts here with you. Setting intention to love yourself more deeply, to take care of yourself more deeply, to be brave and be unapologetic in loving yourself so that you can be a light in the world in the way that you deeply are born to be. Morakura tira kia morakura tira nira kua tia. Morakura tira kia sira kia morakura kia morakua, clearing anything in the way of your path. Morakura kia sira kia simukura ti nira kua marakia sina kura tia, aligning, balancing each of your energy centers. Morakura tia, and this divine light is coming through from the top of your crown into each of your chakras. Morakura kia sira kura ti nira kura tia. Breathing in, morakura tia, amplifying your soul's purpose. Morakura kia, sira kura tia. And as you breathe out, anchoring it in to the depths of the earth, Mother Gaia is holding this beautiful crystal heart. You're seeding your soul's essence. They're ready to energetically create the foundations of the next level version of you. Morakia, sira kura tia, nora kura tia. Feeling the ripple effects begin to expand already energetically. Morakura tia, nora kura tia, nora kura tia. Breathing in and breathing out loud. Just staying with the sensations, noticing what you notice. There's no right or wrong. You may notice lightness, a little bit lightheadedness. Feel your feet on the ground if that's the case. Drink some water. Might notice emotion coming through, release, tears, fluttering. All is welcome. There's no right or wrong how your body responded. Your soul is unlocking to the next level. Morakia sira. Beautiful, my love. So just taking your time here, hanging out. And Lesley, thank you so much for such a powerful conversation that so many people, especially mothers, caregivers, needed to hear today. Us in the service providing world, absolutely. What a powerful story. You're such a powerful soul. I want to acknowledge you for who you are and for the work that you're doing in the world.
It's my pleasure and my honor to be here.
Beautiful. So do connect in with Lesley. Those of you who are feeling called to lead and take advantage of the free 20-minute Akashic reading to see what the guidance is for you. That's really generous of you, love. Are there any last words that you'd like to share?
I think the biggest thing for me, and we talked about this, is just giving ourselves grace along the way as we're learning, as we're on this journey, and giving each other grace. We're all learning. We're all figuring things out for ourselves, and we don't always do it right. And that's okay. That's part of the journey.
Beautiful.
Give yourself.
Thank you so much. And my loves, just a reminder, if you're feeling the call, go and check out Flourishing Life Coaching Certification. You can DM me at Bold Sexy Warrior and I'll share more information, see if this is aligned for you too. Take care until next time. Stay mindful, stay powerful.